Right now, picture yourself walking into a pitch black room alone. Your hand searches the wall for a light switch, and until you find it, something in your chest tightens, just slightly. Nothing has happened. Nothing is actually there. And yet some part of you refuses to fully relax until the lights come back on. That reaction feels almost embarrassingly automatic for a modern adult standing safely inside their own home. But it isn't random, and it isn't something you simply never grew out of. It's a survival response, inherited from ancestors who had every reason to take darkness seriously. For most of human history, nightfall wasn't just an absence of light. It was the single most dangerous part of every single day. Here's why, and why your brain still hasn't gotten the memo that the danger mostly passed. Early humans evolved alongside serious predators, lions, leopards, hyenas, and large cats now extinct, many of which hunted primarily at night. Human night vision, by comparison, is remarkably poor. Your eyes rely heavily on cone cells for sharp, colourful vision, and cone cells need reasonably strong light to function well. Once the sun goes down, you're left relying mostly on rod cells, which detect motion and rough shapes, but can't render fine detail or colour at all. In practical terms, once darkness fell, your ancestors were operating with a fraction of their normal sensory information, while many of their predators were just getting started. This wasn't a fair fight. A tired, poorly lit human, straining to make out shapes in the dark, was up against animals with far sharper night vision, silent movement, and millions of years of nocturnal hunting instinct behind them. Anthropologist Wrangham has argued that this exact vulnerability may explain the deliberate use of fire, one of the more consequential developments in early human history, not just for cooking, but for protection through the night. A managed fire kept predators at a distance, extended visibility into the darkness, and let a sleeping group actually rest without one member constantly listening for movement in the black. Groups that maintained fire through the night had a real, measurable survival advantage over groups that didn't. That advantage wasn't subtle. It was often the difference between waking up the next morning or not. Given that pressure, sustained over hundreds of thousands of years, it would be strange if your brain hadn't developed a strong, automatic aversion to darkness itself. Fear that pushed you toward light and safety in numbers and kept you alert during exactly the hours predators were most active would have been selected for relentlessly, generation after generation. The individuals who felt nothing walking into unlit, unfamiliar territory at night were, statistically, less likely to survive long enough to pass that indifference on. This helps explain something else too, a pattern researchers have noticed in how fear of the dark shows up across childhood development. Fear of darkness tends to peak during early childhood, often between the ages of 2 and 6, precisely the developmental window when a child would historically have been most vulnerable and least capable of defending themselves if left alone at night. Children don't just grow out of this fear through willpower. It looks more like a fear tuned, almost precisely, to the exact period when it would have mattered most for actual survival. Modern darkness, of course, carries almost none of the danger it once did. Your bedroom at night contains no leopards. Your hallway holds no ambush predators waiting in the shadows. But your nervous system's underlying threat detection software hasn't been rewritten to reflect that. It's still running essentially the same program, treating reduced visual information as a gap in your defenses worth monitoring, regardless of how safe the actual room happens to be. This is also likely why sound plays such an outsized role once the lights go out. In full daylight, a small creak or distant thump barely registers. In darkness, that exact same sound seems to demand your full attention instantly. With your dominant sense, vision, effectively disabled, your brain compensates by turning up sensitivity everywhere else, exactly the kind of adjustment that would have helped an ancestor catch the earliest possible warning sign of an approaching predator they genuinely couldn't yet see. So the next time you feel that small, familiar tightening walking into an unlit room, know that nothing about you is malfunctioning or overly anxious. You're carrying forward a warning system built by ancestors who survived specifically because they refused to treat darkness casually, running on hardware that predates electric lighting by several 100,000 years and simply hasn't caught up yet. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a fire is still burning, And some part of you is still quietly, instinctively grateful every single time you find that light switch.